Thank you all for coming here this evening. My name's Ken Millette, and I'll be doing a short, informative presentation this evening. Now, usually when I meet or greet people, whether it's at church or at other social functions, I always ask them their name, and sometimes I'll ask them what they do for a living. And I'll tell them what I do for a living is I work in the auto parts sales industry. I've always found it uniquely different that my friend Anthony will tell people that he works for God. I've been a Christian for the last 6 years, and I've also worked in the auto parts sales industry for the last 16 years. Now, in this presentation, I want to go over the role of the auto parts salesperson and how God's values can be placed inside that work position in that work environment. I'll explain the role of an auto parts salesperson, what the daily duties look like for that position, some of the things that God values for us in our lives, and also some of the ways that we can harmoniously interject those values into the working environment. Now, according to myplan.com, the roles for the auto parts salesperson include assisting customers in getting parts, whether using a paper catalog or a digital computer database, controlling inventory, replenishing the shelves and making sure there's enough parts on hand for people, and also sometimes sending back obsolete parts that aren't being sold. And also there's also a diagnostic element to the role. Sometimes when you're looking up a part for a customer, the catalog may not match up with what's on the customer's car, so you may have to do a little extra digging to figure out why the catalog's wrong or what's different about the vehicle so you can get the correct part for the customer. Now, in my daily duties as a parts person, we consist of helping customers at the counter, helping our mechanics in our shop, also helping people on the phone with sales calls, and sometimes a little inventory control if we get parts in, to receive the parts into our computer database, and also to sometimes just to do a little diagnostic work with customers. Sometimes they'll come in and try to figure out what's wrong with their car. They'll ask parts people what's wrong with their car. Usually our bosses or people in this industry, there's not usually a certificate or a training degree that's required for this position, but sometimes just have a working knowledge of automobiles, how parts functions, and what they do on the cars goes far to getting your foot in the door into this industry. Now, some of the things that God values for us in our lives, this question was posed to John Piper in Australia last year. He was at a conference down there, and a group of young men, working men, they were asking John Piper, how do you glorify God in the workplace? What kind of values can we display in work? And John Piper responded by having the dependence on God, depending on God for everything and everything we do in our workplace. John Piper also said to using your skills to the best of your abilities, because all of our gifts and our abilities come from God. God's the source for everything that we have. And using your skills to the maximum level that you can, excelling well, glorifies God also in the workplace. Also, according to Tom Yearley, he wrote a book called Kingdom Character, and in his book he lists a lot of different traits such as love, integrity, different characters traits that God values for us in our lives that can also be incorporated into our workplace. Now, for this position, I feel prayer can be incorporated into the workplace to show a dependence on God. Starting your workday off in prayer, praying for yourself, praying for your co-workers, praying for customers that might come into the day for your business, and also just praying for the business as a whole. Also praying for just for God to be glorified in that day, to bring about opportunities maybe to share Christ with people, shows a tremendous dependence on God. Also doing the little things well, according to Tom Yearley in his book on growing kingdom character. For example, when he talks on integrity, he says to grow the kingdom character trait of integrity, you have to begin with doing the little things well. If you do the little things well in the auto industry, sometimes when you come across big issues or big problems where your boss might need you to do something, if he sees that you do things well with the little things, he'll trust you with the bigger things later on in the career. Also, just having what I would call a godly ear, listening to people, listening to the customers when they come in. A lot of times customers will come in for maintenance reasons, but sometimes they'll come in because their cars are broken, they don't start, they're upset. And sometimes they just want to have a compassionate ear, somebody that they can talk to just to get out what's going on in their day off their chest. Now, in this presentation, I've talked about the role of the auto parts salesperson, some of the things God values for us in our lives, and how they can be harmoniously interjected into the work environment. And I like what it also says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. It says, no matter what you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. Thank you.